Hello and welcome to the Home Care Millionaire Podcast, the show where compassion meets prosperity. I am Paul Tembande alongside my beautiful wife Joan here. We're honored to be your hosts. Together, Joan and I have built a home care agency from a little over $12,000 credit card loan. Okay, some people called it a gamble at that time. We've built it into an 8-figure business serving thousands of families over the years. And now we're here to share the lessons, strategies, and the mindset shifts that help us get there so that you can too.
We launched this podcast because the home care industry is often misunderstood. Too many people don't see the sacrifices owners and their caregivers make every single day, or the powerful impact agencies have on seniors and their communities. And truthfully, we looked around and realized there were not many podcasts out there shining a light on this industry. So we felt called to create the Home Care Millionaire Podcast.
This podcast is designed for the purpose-driven provider. For those of you who feel called to care, but also want to build a thriving, sustainable business. Each week, we're going to share with you real-life stories, proven strategies, and powerful mindset shifts that will help you move from just surviving to thriving.
Absolutely. Our tagline says it best. Compassion is your calling, wealth is your reward. And here on the Home Care Millionaire Podcast, we're going to show you how to embrace both.
So get ready for inspiration, practical insights, and the encouragement you need to impact lives, build wealth, and create a legacy through your agency. So hit subscribe, folks. Join us on this journey to transform your business, your mindset, and your future. Welcome, folks, to the Home Care Millionaire Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Home Care Millionaire Podcast, the show where compassion meets prosperity. I'm Paul Tembande alongside my wife Joan here. We're honored to be your podcast host. Together, we've built a home care agency from a $12,000 credit card loan. Some folks call it a gamble at that time, into an 8-figure home care agency serving thousands of families over the years. And we're here to share the lessons, the strategies, and the mindset shifts that helped us get there so that you, our audience, can be able to benefit from it and go from there.
So we launched this podcast because the home care industry is often misunderstood. Too many people don't see the sacrifices owners and their caregivers make every single day, or the powerful impact agencies have on seniors and their communities. And truthfully, we looked around and realized there were not many podcasts out there shining the light on this industry. So we felt called to create the Home Care Millionaire Podcast.
This podcast is designed for the purpose-driven provider. For those of you who feel called to care, but also want to build a thriving, sustainable business out of this. Each week, we're going to share real-life stories, proven strategies, and powerful mindset shifts that help move you actually from just surviving, really, to truly thriving.
Our tagline says it's best. Compassion is your calling and wealth is your reward.
Yes.
And here on the Millionaire Podcast, Home Care Millionaire Podcast, we're going to show you how to embrace both.
So get ready for inspiration, practical insights, and the encouragement you need to build wealth, impact lives, and create a legacy through your agency. So hit subscribe. Join us on this journey to transform your business, your mindset, and your future. Welcome, folks, to the Home Care Millionaire Podcast. Folks, I want to start off today by saying that our guest is a dear friend, a fellow home care owner, a home care agency owner. We respect Amma. She's done a lot, and just an inspiration to all of us, really. I could speak for Joan and I on that one. And I know she has a wealth of wisdom that she's going to share with us here today. We'll find out her story, how she got to this point, how did she got into the business, maybe what she did before, and just learn from her. That's what we're going to do today. Right, Joan?
Okay. So we're excited to hear from you, Miss Amma, your story and the wisdom that you're going to share with us today. So without further ado, let's welcome Amma to the Home Care Millionaire Podcast.
Welcome, Amma. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Paul and Joan. Hello, everyone. My name is Amma Akwabi-Ameyaw, and I'm the owner of Visiting Angels in Livermore and Fremont, California. So we're dedicated to providing compassionate, high quality care to seniors in our community. And I just want to start off by first thanking you, Paul and Joan, for even giving me this opportunity to share today. I'm truly humbled and grateful to be here. It means a lot. So just a little bit of background about me. Before starting the home care industry, I actually worked in pharma and biotech. Most recently, I worked for business development for a DME company, a durable medical equipment company. And it was during that time, following a series of layoffs, that I found myself at a crossroads. Initially, what felt like setbacks actually turned out to be a redirection into my true purpose. So I'm really blessed by that experience. And I started my agency during, one of the most intense seasons in my life. I had 3 kids under the age of 4, including a newborn. So if you can imagine, I had a 3-month-old. It wasn't easy, but I had the support of my family. I had strong mentors and the deep faith, that really continues to guide me. And today I really see the work that I do not just as a business, but it's a true calling. It's a true calling for me, really to serve others, to build meaningful relationships, be a positive influence in my generation and in my community. I take that to heart.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's amazing, Amma.
That's
We're
awesome.
glad to hear. Interesting how life works, right? You think one disadvantage is the end of the world, right? Or one mishap is the end of the world, but it actually channeled into your purpose, right?
That's right.
Your calling.
That's right.
So that's wonderful. Wow. So can you walk us through the early years?
Go ahead. I was going to say something.
I once heard a message that, sometimes we're relaxed and in our comfort zone, and really it takes a series of events, right, to sometimes push us into our purpose. And I really, as I reflect back in my life, I truly believe that at that time, I didn't understand it, but going back, I truly believe that it was, the best thing. They say when one door closes, another one opens, but I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Yeah.
Wow,
so, sorry,
that's
Joan,
amazing. I mean, no, that's okay. When we started, we had 3 kids under 7. So yours were much younger than us. So I can imagine the challenges, right? I can imagine the challenges. And so what was it like? Just walk us through the early days when you started, young family, just changing careers. How was it like? What were some of the challenges that you encountered those early days?
Yeah, I'll say, my hands were literally full when I started my agency, right? As you can imagine, kids, a newborn, trying to balance, motherhood and a new business, a new industry. I would just say there were a lot of sleepless nights and sometimes moments of doubt. But I'm a very driven person, so I stayed focused. I leaned on my family. I cannot, talk about my journey without acknowledging my family in this. I have a very supportive husband. My mom was a retired nurse, and so she stepped in to help my sister. It really takes a village. So I had a really strong network and support. That's the only way I could have done this. And then I just took small, consistent steps forward. And so my early wins, I would say, came from just building, strong relationships, doing a lot of work myself as a new business owner. And, I was very hands-on. And I would say also I showed up with authenticity, right? Like people knew I was genuine, I was authentic, I was passionate about what I was doing. And so that always showed in my work, not just with my team, with my caregivers, but also with referral partners. And just over time, those efforts compounded and the business began to grow.
Wow. And now you're doing great, right? 2 franchise locations. That's amazing. Congratulations, Amma.
Yes. And many more to come. Amma, you're so right. I mean, coming from a TME background for you, was that helpful? Because you sort of knew the industry a little bit, didn't you? I mean, did that help?
I did. And I've always, I've always worked in the healthcare industry, right? In pharma, biotech. And then in DME, I worked with seniors. So we worked on respiratory, it was an oxygen company. So I was accustomed to working with seniors. I was on the, business development side, but I still understood, some of the challenges that our seniors face. So it was a natural transition. And I believe that that having that
Awesome.
industry experience helped.
Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
Let me ask you this, and I suppose you grew your agencies from the ground up, right? You did not buy an existing, did you?
Wow.
I did purchase an existing. Yes,
Oh,
it was.
from the
Yes,
get
it
go.
was. Yes, it was an
Oh, good,
existing
good.
territory. Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, good. So, how was it? I mean, I know you come in with it's a different culture, right? I mean, it's a different people. You didn't have this from the get go, right? How was it? That's I think that's the because some folks it's a challenge for some people. You know, in fact, I don't want to bore you straight off the bat with that one of our stories. I mean, and you didn't have it as bad as we did. Let me just I'll throw this in there for a minute here. You know, one of our territories, actually the third one, purchased it from someone else, right? They had been in business many years, and so and they had a health situation, and so they sold to us. It was interesting. They had one key member, one staff member who did everything in the office, and it was interesting. So this seller and their husband came to our office. We did all the paperwork with the lawyer and all that stuff. Signed, gave them the check for it. We said, well, let's go look at what we purchased, right? Let's go and see what we purchased here. So we followed them, we said, follow them to the office. And we got there, and the door was unlocked. Um, we knocked on the door. No one answered. And opened the door, open, we got in. We saw a big old note. I resigned. The keys are here. This is there. Whatever. Don't call me.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the lone employee who knew everything. She knew all the clients, all the caregivers. She had gone. She was essentially gone. Don't call me. So it was
Wow.
interesting. But so yeah, that was our story. To tell you what happened after this, another, but we turn it around by the grace of God. Okay, by the grace of God, we turn it around.
Yes.
We just felt that our thing was that we felt that if it just wasn't meant to be, right? I mean, God wanted us to take this a different direction,
Mhm.
because before going to the purchase, we prayed about it,
Yeah.
we talked about
Mhm.
it, and we were led to do this. And so
Mhm.
maybe it's easier for us now to have this person, so we can then start from
Yeah.
ground level, if you will. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting. So how was yours? How was buying to a new existing office? How was that? How was it?
Great question, and thank you for sharing your experience too. I would have to say mine was a little bit similar, not exactly the same. The
Okay.
first office that I purchased, although it was an existing business, there were no office staff because the owners, the sellers, had other locations and
Okay.
they managed remotely. So
Okay.
I came in, and since I purchased one of their 2 or 3 territories,
Correct.
I had to build it from scratch in terms of office team.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's what I meant by I really started off doing everything, and as the owner, I feel like it was a great learning for me. Every
Yes.
owner should know their business, right? You don't necessarily, as you grow, you're not going to be the one responsible for each task,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
important things like recruiting,
Yes.
billing,
Yes.
payroll, those are, operational tasks that an owner should know. And
Yes.
so I feel since I started off, knowing all those important tasks,
Correct.
it's really helped me, right? I can
Yes.
always step in. Prime
Yes.
example, I had an owner in a neighboring territory who
Yes.
their operations manager quit without
Mm.
notice. And this
Oh,
person
wow.
did their billing and their payroll, and the owner had no clue how to do
Whoa.
payroll. So they
Ooh.
called
Whoa.
me to ask me for help. And
Whoa.
I go in and we're trying to figure things out together. And I said, no way. As an owner, you have to know,
Yeah.
right?
You
You have
do.
to have processes in place to prevent something like that from
Mhm.
happening. So yeah, that was my experience with my first office. The second office that I purchased, though, also an existing territory,
Okay.
came with the staff.
Oh,
But
good.
looking back, I think I prefer build from scratch.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
every owner has their own
Oh
culture,
yeah.
every
Oh yes.
organization has their culture, every owner
Yes.
has their own strengths and
Yes.
weaknesses. What's
Yeah.
important for one owner, may not be important for
That's true.
another.
That is true.
And so I felt like I had more challenges with
Oh,
that transition than when
yeah.
I didn't have any staff and I had to build from scratch. If I
Yeah.
could do it all over, I would take that any day over.
Yeah. Yes, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Because you're right. I mean, because even with the no staff, you still had a book of business, right? You had a book of
Right.
business. You had clients,
Mhm.
caregivers, so you could.
Mhm.
It was just getting the staff, the folks in the office to run things.
Right.
Again, I would really give you kudos for that because coming from not in a home care business and doing this is really a lot of training for you. You had to kind of step up your game.
Yeah.
Really, right, Joan? I mean, that would be.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blessing in disguise
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you had to
yeah,
build it, starting with your own culture, your own mission and vision, and all of that,
yeah,
right? Your own style.
yeah,
So you had to make it yours.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
talking about delegation, you have to know before you can delegate.
That's exactly
that's
right.
right.
Yeah, yeah. It's great to have all the help because we do need the help to run successful home care agencies. But it's very important for the owner themselves to know
Yep.
because
Yeah.
you can only delegate so much. You have to
That's
know,
right.
and then you'll be able to pick up errors and challenges or things that could be done better for efficiency
That's
purposes.
right. That's right.
So besides changing the diapers late at night and taking care of the other two, what was one significant challenge you faced? We talked about not having the staff, the first agency, but when you got going, what was one significant challenge that you faced?
I would say, as I think about that, great question, Joan, by the way, would be around caregiver recruitment and retention early on. It's one thing to find qualified caregivers, right? It's another to find people who truly care.
Yeah.
So I think early on I had to really learn how to build a culture that attracts and keeps the right people. I was very engaged in my team early on. In my first office, some of the caregivers who've been around, so I've been in business now 7 years, and the ones who we started with, I'm still, very close to them. I know about their families, their kids,
Yes.
and that's what really matters for our staff, right? When they know that you care, they go above and beyond for you. And so I would say that has been one of the challenges early on. And the other that I can think of is really establishing, trust with referral partners. I would say I became that kind of by being consistent, being responsive, and then following through. We're not perfect by any means. We make mistakes, communicating,
We all do.
acknowledging, when you make a mistake, I find that, that goes a long way. And making sure you don't make, repetitive mistakes, right? Mistakes over and over. But people are more forgiving.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I can imagine in California with all the regulations from one end of the industry to the other end. I mean, it must be very challenging. But I like the fact that you made the distinction between finding caregivers, not just caregivers who are experienced, but caregivers who are compassionate as well, because you can get so many qualified, they've gone through certification or licensing, caregivers, but then do they have the heart to do what you want to do? Are they going to represent your agency like you would, right? So that shows the level of effort that you had to make, so you're not just recruiting people or bodies, you're recruiting people with heart. That personality is what you're looking for, the right personality.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's good.
Wow.
Yeah, working with referral partners can be challenging sometimes. I know we're talking the other day about competition, where some folks feel like there's too much competition in their markets, right? But then if you have the right service, you can still stand out. You can still shine. The competition. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, the point is that every industry has competition. Everyone does, and I mean, and we kind of welcome it because competition kind of sets I think it separates the really folks who are in this to do the right thing from folks who are pretending. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it goes to you talk about authenticity. You're the real deal. I mean, there's no duplication. You know what I'm saying? I mean, no duplicate here. This is it. And if you stand behind your product like we do, like we all do, I mean, folks can tell. You know what I'm saying? Folks can, and that's one of the things that we've learned, over the years, that stand for the right thing. Just do it for the right reasons. Again, too many folks look at home care to think it's a place to just go make money quick. And seriously, that's one of the reasons why we decided to do this podcast, because they have this misconception. But they don't know what it takes. I mean, and we're gonna have you share with us here. But to spend a day in what we do, it's not a regular day. You talked about having 3 kids under the age of 4 and still having to take on this. Now we know that mothers can do a lot of things. I'll tell you that right now. They could really be all involved in every one of them. We get that. We respect y'all for that. But it's, to do what we do, you really have to, you talk about having the heart, you really have to be for the other person. It reminds me of what a gentleman we used to listen to quite a bit talked about. He said, when you take your eyes off yourself and put them on somebody else, you always be taken care of, which is what we do. Wouldn't you agree, Amma? I think that's what we do.
I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's, having that servant heart,
There you go.
caring for others. And yeah, I love it.
Yeah, because the folks who deal with, vulnerable seniors, most times, sometimes they don't have family members around either. We've had, I'm sure you have some of those, no family member around, or no family member, period. You're their family, right? You gotta really, they gotta be there for the right reasons.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Paul, I remember.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, just to quickly share, as you talked about, sometimes, we have clients who they don't have, family members, or they're estranged. I'll never forget when I started, there was a day I was extremely busy, and I ended up picking up the phone because we were in the office. Everybody was busy. I picked up a call, and it was a lead. And I knew I was busy, but something I kept talking to her. I knew she couldn't afford our services either, but I could not get off the phone with this lead. And, after our conversation, she said, I haven't talked to anybody in the last few days. You're the only person that I've talked to. And I just thank you so much for even making time to chat with me, for listening. And I was just like, my God, here I was thinking how busy I am. I could have been doing X, Y, Z. But in that moment, that's where I needed to be, right? Providing that experience. Like I said, the lead, she couldn't afford our services. She didn't move, forward. But creating that experience for her, it just made me so appreciative and value the work that we do. You may be the only person they see. Our caregivers may be the only, individual they see all week.
Right.
When they call the office, you may be the only person they talk to that week.
That's
so
right.
Just having that heart and, being compassionate and having that level of understanding in how, we treat our clients, I feel like it's really, it's important. It's key as an agency owner.
So true. In fact, and I know you do this, because the way I always look at every client who calls us is, could that be my grandmother or my grandfather? Could it be my mother or my father? You know what I'm saying? Because I think that, and which is, I'm sure is what you do too, because when you look at it from that vantage point, it changes your perspective. It changes how you show up every day. And that's what we try to teach, and I know you do that in your company. That's what we teach a lot of our team members. This could be your mom. This could be your dad. It really could be. How would you treat them? Because if you come in with that level of empathy, it goes a long way. Like you said, some of these folks, they've not talked to someone. I remember years ago we used to do take care. Joan and I. Joan is she's a nurse, so we used to go. There's this gentleman who was not getting care, who had care I think once a week. Right? Was it once a week? And he was about almost 500 pounds.
400.
400 something. Yeah, and he was bedridden, and we had to use a Hoyer lift to take him out of bed, and all of that. And when we go because on the big days like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, the nurses were not available, so we'd have to go. And after we helped him, get out of bed and back, he would say, "Let us pray." And this guy offered a prayer for us.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's a human being. These are people we're taking care of, and that's where the compassion, comes in, the care comes in, because you're making a difference. Making a difference. So, you go ahead, John.
Yeah, Amma, so I know you talked about your family, your faith, maybe there's something else, but what do you think is that one most single, important factor that has contributed to your success and, to your financial success, your growth in your industry, in your agency?
I would say relationship building. I would say that's really been key, and not just internally, but externally. So with my team, and then also with providers, you hear the saying, people do business with those they trust, right?
Yes.
And even to some extent, right? Caregivers, once they come to during the recruiting process, they come in for an interview or onboarding orientation, if they see that this is a place, you know, a culture that they like and they fit in, they're more likely to stay with you,
That's
right?
true.
And so I think relationship building will probably be a factor. Absolutely. I will also say investing also in the right systems and processes early on to help create consistency. So I'm an engineer by trade, right?
Okay.
And I
Okay.
worked, one of the jobs I had, I worked at Bayer Healthcare, and we were
Okay.
responsible for, you know, I worked in manufacturing. And so
Okay.
having processes in place, SOP, different things. So I came
Yeah.
into this industry with that mindset, like
Correct.
everything has to be documented. You know, we have a
Yes.
process that we follow. Um,
Yes.
I'm not as rigid now as when I
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
started, but I think it's important. It's great, you know, having systems and processes. It helps build, it helps create consistencies, right?
It
Which
does. It does.
allow you to grow without burning out.
No, that I like the systems part. You're so right. I mean, Jonah's been she's not an engineer, but she runs like one. She operates like one. So we'll let her do that part of it. Yeah, but you're right. You gotta have systems in place. You got to.
Yeah, because you set the foundation, right? With systems, you set a solid foundation, and you can scale from there. Without systems in place, you can
Yeah.
grow, but you're going to crash
Yeah.
at some
Yeah.
point. So it's very important that on the starting out, get the right systems in place, right? So you're
Mhm.
talking about
Mhm.
maybe your scheduling software, your phone
That's
system,
right.
things like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And I'm always looking for ways to be more efficient, to grow. I
Yes.
love to learn. I like to, you
Yes.
know, find out we were doing this way, you know, things this way a year or two ago. You know, what can we do to improve?
Yes.
And so that also helps having that mindset of growth, and
Yes.
wanting to, you know, improve, do better,
Yes.
and helpful.
Yeah, and I like the two things you talked. And growth is a good thing. Really, it is a good thing. I mean, it just means you're serving more people.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
the pool is increasing every day. It is
Mhm.
increasing. It's
Mhm.
just serving more service, right? So
Mhm.
we love it. We look forward to it. I like the fact. I like what you talked about relationship being the top thing that's really gotten you, as successful as you are, and it's even going to do further because, as you say, people do business with people they know and people that they like, the people they
Mhm.
trust, and that's something I like that part. I mean, that's a nugget I get out of this. I want to ask you for someone who, if someone out there in our wide audience here is listening to you and is thinking about doing what we do, getting in this industry, and what would you say as a piece of advice or a couple of pieces of advice you could love to share with them with the experience you've had having been doing this for the past 7 years and successfully, I might add?
That's a great question, Paul. I will say don't try to do everything yourself. It's really important to build network early. You know, surround yourself with positive people, people who you aspire to be like, you know, mentors, industry peers. I think initially, just out of the nature how I work, I was doing a lot of things myself, and I came to find out very early on that I cannot grow, you know,
Yes.
if I'm managing things myself, right?
Yeah.
Growth comes when I once heard a mentor told me growth comes when you stop being the only decision maker and you empower others. And that
Yes.
really stuck with me. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
And so, really, not trying to do everything yourself. It's important to build network, have mentors, you know, learn from people, you know,
Mhm.
like mentors like you, Paul and
Thank
Joan. You
you.
guys have been doing this much longer. You
Thank you.
know, there are some challenges you guys have had that I don't
Yes.
necessarily need to go through, right?
Yes.
I can learn from you. Don't have to
Yes.
recreate that. And
Yes.
so I would say that's very, very important. And then I'll lastly say that, you know, as I think of home care, it's a marathon, right? It's not a sprint.
That's right.
So really focusing on quality, right? Not just growth, right? Of course, revenue is important. You know, we
Yeah.
all want to grow, but
Mm.
really growth through quality, right?
Yes.
Being actionable, taking, you know, actionable steps. I think it's really key.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I like that phrase,
Yes.
growth through quality.
There you go.
So if anyone is listening here
That's it.
today,
That's
they
it.
should run with that because that quality creates your reputation in your
Mm-hmm.
market,
It does.
right? And your reputation is going to speak for you.
Oh yeah.
Many folks who are looking for our services now are going online. You know, when you
Yes.
have that reputation, you can pass it on to Google reviews. Hey, guess what? you grow. It becomes a natural trajectory for you to grow. Wow,
Absolutely.
that
Yeah,
is awesome.
No, I like that piece. Thank you so much. Thank you. Did you have one more? You wanted
Yeah,
Emma to hang out to wrap it up, or
let me
any?
see. Looking back at all the 7 years, right? Looking back at the 7 years, what is one aspect of being a home care agency owner that you find really rewarding?
Yeah, I would say, really making a difference in people's lives. And I'll clarify that. Initially, when I came on, I just thought about clients, right? Impacting clients.
Yes,
But also
yes,
the impact that we've had on our caregivers alike has been really rewarding for me. I never thought that I would, be an employer, providing opportunities,
I know.
mentoring others.
Yes,
So I would say just the difference making in people's lives, both clients and their families, and then also caregivers
Mm.
and their families,
yes,
realizing people's potentials. I've really been blessed, in my career to have great mentors and great, people who have, I call them
yes.
destiny helpers, have kind of helped me along the
There
way.
you go.
And
There you
so
go. There you go.
to be able to be on the other side and to be able to see, people for who they are and to be able to help them along their journey has been very rewarding for me.
Good deal.
That's
Good deal.
amazing.
That's yeah. Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome. Awesome. I think we're just wrapping in closing here. Emma, any nuggets you want to share with the audience out there, folks who do this, who are involved in this, thinking about getting in this industry? Are there some nuggets you might want to share? Some things we haven't covered that you'd like to share before we close that for this interview?
I would just say, just leave this with your listeners that, this industry is so much more than just a business. It's a calling to serve and to lead with compassion and really making a real impact in people's lives. So, whether you're just starting out or you're scaling your agency, I think it's really important to kind of stay rooted in your why, knowing your
Hmm.
why and surrounding yourself with, the right people, right? Don't be
Hmm.
afraid to try different things. If you tried it and it doesn't work, that's okay. But at least you've tried. Challenge
Yes.
yourself and continue to grow, continue
Yes.
to learn, and stay up front of industry. So that's the piece of advice I would give to your listeners.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you
Would you
so
have
much.
any
Thank you
questions?
so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amma. That is wonderful. Amma. Thank you. We've come to the end of our interview here today, and I'll just close that here, and then we'll then be able to end the recording. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Home Care Millionaire Podcast. We hope you found inspiration, encouragement, and practical tools you can apply right away in your own journey. Our mission is simple: to shine a light on the incredible impact that home care owners and their caregivers and their teams actually are making every day, to give you so we can give you the mindset, strategies, and faith-filled wisdom to build with purpose and prosperity.
Because here's what we believe: compassion is your calling, wealth is your reward. If this episode spoke to you, we'd love you to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you like more resources or you have questions for us, just reach out to us at askjoanandpaul.com. We'll be honored to connect with you there.
Until next time, folks, just remember you have what it takes to build wealth, create freedom, and leave a legacy through your agency. We're here cheering you on every step of the way. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Home Care Millionaire Podcast. We hope you found inspiration, encouragement, and practical tools you can apply right away in your own journey. Our mission is simple, folks: to shine a light on the incredible impact that home care owners and their caregivers make every single day, and to give you the mindset, strategies, and faith filled wisdom to build both purpose and prosperity.
Because here is what we believe: compassion is your calling, wealth is your reward. If this episode spoke to you, we'd love for you to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you like more resources or have questions for Paul and I, just head over to askjoanandpaul.com. We'll be honored to connect with you there.
Until next time, folks, remember, you have what it takes to build wealth, create freedom, and leave a legacy through your agency. We're here cheering you on every step of the way. Bye for now.